My name is Joshua, and I am the Tribune. It's very important to God that we understand that He really does care about our emotions. He has emotions, and He's the one who gave us the ability to experience our emotions. But before we get into this, it's very, very crucial that we understand what's the difference between God's emotions and our emotions. Though our emotions parallel, like anger or love or something like that, God's emotions are always just, and ours are not. That's the difference. Now, if we understand that our emotions are not always just, then we will understand a very key concept that will help us deal with our emotions and take them to God. Because how we need to open this conversation is to know that when we have emotions, the first thing we should do is not go to people and talk to them and ask, our significant other or our parent or our best friend or anything like that, our spouse. We shouldn't go to those people with our emotions. We should go to God with our emotions and let Him explain to us why we're having those emotions. And then we have to see, God, are they just emotions? Meaning, are they just? Or are they emotions that I shouldn't be having? Essentially, are they right or wrong? This is the beauty of having a relationship with Christ and being able to hear the Holy Spirit and being a Christian. We don't have to wonder about our emotions. We don't have to take roller coaster trips over and over and over again. What we have to do is we need to go to God and then have Him explain this. Now, the beauty about God is that when we take our emotions to Him, He already knows what we're feeling. This is very, very essential to understand. People who try to hide their emotions from God are very foolish because they don't realize that He is God. He knows every single thing you felt. He knows everything you're feeling, and He knows everything you're thinking and are going to think and feel for the rest of your life. So then you should realize that He's a safe place to bring your emotions to because He's not surprised. When we go to humans and express our emotions to them, many times they're very shocked and they get hurt or offended or they get sad themselves or they start getting angry with us and suddenly they're just caught off guard and now we're just raging together in this direction. God's not like that. God is totally stable because His emotions are always just. And He knows why He's having His emotions, and He has the best reason to have His emotions. So, He's never shocked about what you're feeling, and He's never going to be offended if you say even something about Him that you're thinking. That, I don't understand why this happened. I'm feeling like this. He's like, well, I already knew you're feeling like that. I'm glad you brought it to me because let me explain why you felt like that, why you feel like that, and let me explain why you shouldn't feel like that, and I'll prove it to you. This is how our God is. So you cannot lose when you bring your emotions to God and present them humbly before Him because He loves that. That's part of the relationship with Christ that He yearns for that. He really wants that. So when you have emotions, no matter what situation you're in, you should first bring them to God. Then you need to listen to Him, okay? You need to understand you don't need to tell Him how you feel. It's really not you're going to tell Him how you feel. He already knows. So you go to God and say, God, you know how I feel about this. Period. We're done. Now let me listen now. Because anything else, I'm wasting my time. It's crazy when people just tell God a bunch of things and they don't realize He knows everything already. And then He's waiting for them to finish talking so that He can minister to them. So, but when He ministers to them and He ministers to you, all you need to do is listen. Because either way, you're going to come out okay. Because if your emotions are just, then He will tell you, it's good you have those emotions. I have those emotions too about this situation, and this is what I want you to do about it or not do about it. And He might say, do you want to partner with me? I'd like to partner with you on this because we feel the same way. Or he might say, I understand you, don't do anything. Come with me over here and let's do this, and this will actually fix that situation or whatever. But if your emotions are not correct, that's okay too, because he will say, listen, your emotions, you are very confused. Sit down for a second. Let me explain to you why your emotions, you shouldn't be having those emotions. And I understand why you have them, because your perspective is wrong. Now let me change your perspective to show you how it really is. And then your emotions will change and be aligned with his. What we want is we want our emotions to be aligned with God's emotions. That's the goal here. The goal is not to have our own just emotions and just go on our own path and just run away with our emotions. So when you're taking your emotions to God, you're saying, God, what I want to get on your path. I want to feel like this how you feel about it. If I'm wrong, tell me and show me so that I can be okay, and my emotions can be parallel to yours in this. Then me and you are aligned and we're okay. I'm good. Even if I'm upset and I'm mad and God's mad with me, that's great. Because that means I should be mad, and that means that we're going to do something powerful together. So when we're talking about emotions now, we have to understand that emotions come from so many different things, so many different places. This is why God organizes them for us. He organizes what we should be feeling and what we shouldn't be feeling. Something that God does is he loves to allow you to feel his emotions on a matter. I explained this in one of my last videos. For a purpose, so that you can be effective with him in whatever mission that he's after. Now, there's one disclaimer, though, that I have to say about your emotions and dealing with God. When God gives you an assignment or a mission, and you have emotions about it that are not his emotions about it, the first objective is not to always deal with your emotions. The first objective is to complete the task how he wants. Even if you cannot get rid of your emotions that are, say, negative or not what he wants, you need to complete the task. Sometimes, and I'd say a lot of the times, moving forward with God how he wants and completing the assignment how he asks will actually heal your emotions. The process heals your emotions. So it's not always a perspective shift where he sits down and talks to you. Sometimes he's going to train you to just have your emotions, and you don't feel good about this, and you're going to sit your butt down and do it anyway, and you're going to work with me because that's what's best for you, and we're moving over here. Because you need to be able to not worship your emotions. This is my next point. Worshiping your emotions is very dangerous because you become very unstable. And you are not only unstable for yourself first, but you're unstable for everybody around you. But most importantly, you become very unstable for God's purpose. This is when he becomes very, very displeased. Because if your emotions are making you so unstable that you are either not completing his tasks, or you are not at peace while you're completing his tasks, this makes him not happy. If you're not completing this task because of your emotions, you are very well on the track to get reassigned by God, because he is not going to put up with certain things where you're just not going to do things because you're not happy. Well, that means that you are forfeiting what he's asked you to do, and you need to do something else, and he will find somebody who can do that, because that means that that's rebellious. It's not obedient. And that's not a true friend. On the other end, he doesn't like when you don't have peace. It makes him very sad when you're moving forward in his purpose and you don't have peace in that thing, which means you don't really trust him. This leads me to my next point. People who are controlled by their emotions and deal with things like fear and stress, worry, anxiety, anger. The root of this is you don't trust God. Let's just get that out there, just period. You do not trust God, because if you trusted God in your situation, then you would be at peace. I'll never forget when I was very stressed and had a bunch of anxiety, and there are different times where I was having different kinds of emotions that he didn't want me to have. And he said, listen, this is the root. You don't trust me, period. You do not trust me, and this is why you're having this experience. Now, if you trusted me, it would fix 5 of your emotions in 1 second. So the process then is sometimes him proving himself to you, and over time you begin to trust him, and it fixes those things. But it's important for me to mention it, because maybe you can skip a lot of the process of trusting God if I'm just telling you that, hey, listen, you can trust God. Maybe a couple people listen like that. I don't know. I wasn't one of those people who someone could just tell me like, hey, just trust. I really had to go see for myself, and that's just the kind of person I am. And he met me where I was, and he walked me through, and I was able to trust him on the next step and the next step, a little more and a little more as time went on. And it just grew from there. And he was very patient with me. Now, I don't like to spend too much time talking about the enemy, because I think most of the time it's best to ignore him. But for this and certain topics, it's important to just mention him a little bit, because if I don't mention what the enemy does with your emotions, then you will be completely fooled, and the attacks will be invisible to you. So what the enemy does is he gives you something to feel a certain way about it, or tries to change your perspective on a matter. That's one of the big ones. He tries to change your perspective to make you think wrongly about a certain thing, and then you think you're so right that you cannot hear God on the correction, and you don't even want to go to God because you're so prideful that you can't imagine that you're wrong on this. So he uses pride with your emotions so much, and he distorts your perspective. That's what bursts the pride, because you really think you're right. So the compass for this is, if you don't have peace in something, then you need to take it to God and let him speak to you about your emotions. You're always after peace. God is after peace. He wants peace, and he will give you peace. This is crucial to understand. So it's important to remember, take your emotions to God. Take them to God and let him decide how he's going to navigate them with you. And the goal is to make sure that your emotions are aligned with his emotions. It's not that you shouldn't have emotions, because he gave you emotions. People who say that you shouldn't have any emotions are lying to you, because God gave us emotions. They are very good for us, but they need to be aligned with his emotions. So that's what you're trying to move towards. It would be wrong, for example, for God to be very angry at something and you to be very happy and peaceful about something. That's very wrong. He doesn't like that. And this is one of the reasons why he's going to be purging the earth, because there's so many things like that that people are happy with that he's not happy with, and people are not getting in line with his emotions, including the church. That's a big one. He's very angry at the church. So it's very dangerous not to align with God's emotions in all ways. It's just as scary and foolish and stupid for him to not like something and us to like it, or him saying this is not okay and we're saying that's okay. That's very dangerous. So you need to get comfortable with, if God's angry at something and he's saying, listen, this is my heart on the matter, you need to be angry about that thing too. It's not just comfort. And our leaders have been teaching us that God is just strictly comfort, where he just, it's okay to fornicate. No, pride is, it's okay. We're good. Like he's just be happy. Let's just not talk about this and have peace. We'll just fornicate and stay in God's peace. No, that is satanic. So my closing statement is to remember that when we're talking about our emotions, it is not about comfort. It's about having just emotions. Our emotions being correct by God's standards. That's what we're after. But you need to know that your emotions are safe with the Father. He's the only person your emotions are truly safe with. And if you know this, you will not only grow in relationship with Him in a very powerful way, the most powerful way, but you will accomplish His missions in purpose. And He will trust you and He will commission you to massive assignments with Him in the kingdom. And this is the power of our emotions. Hail Jehovah.